Hi guys, Skylatron here with 10 Cent Hammer, and we are talking to Adam and Tom from H1Z1. A little bit about some of the new information they gave us today here at SOE Live. So I want to get this out of the way right now. First question, I know you don't have an early access date. They know you don't have an early access date, but everybody wants to know some stuff about early access, right? So has a really ambitious development cycle just hindered the early access process?
Early access is actually coming out August 45th. So there's your date.
I know it's not happening. I know it's not.
Well, so I was explaining this earlier. We have a lot of people working on a lot of different features, and when I go, okay, what are we done? Are we ready for early access? And the guy goes, well, this feature is not ready yet. And we're like, well, this is a feature we want in the game. Okay, well, I guess we can't announce a date. I was actually really upset at John Smedley, our CEO, when he's like, no, we can't announce a date at early access or at SOE Live. We're not ready yet. I was like, thanks. Now I get to go talk to all the press and tell them that we have nothing for them. Thanks for that. But no, it's getting really close. We're checking things off, every week, getting closer and closer. I can see the train coming home in the station. I mean, I want players in the game just as much as the players want to play the game. That's
really what they're after now. They just want to get there. They see that you're doing great work, and they just want to get their hands on it. Has there been any talk of founders packs or anything like that, sort of similar to Landmark, multiple tiers or anything like that?
We talked about just the early access, going through Steam, getting early access from there, and that's really what we've talked about so far.
I wouldn't be surprised if we did it eventually, maybe before launch. Who knows? I don't know. But for early access right now, it's just $20 on Steam for early access when we come out.
So, all right, I'll move into some of the features that you showed us. You showed us airdrops. I believe it's probably the first time we've really seen it, isn't it? So, from a lore perspective, where are they coming from?
That's a great question. So we have room to write the lore. We can really do whatever we want. Maybe it's a military base that's off screen somewhere. Maybe there's lore in the game, in the world of H1Z1, and then there's lore outside of the world that we can write. So maybe, there's a military compound during the infection, the first few days of the infection, they quarantined off, this military base, and they're able to drop supplies to people that they know were their survivors. We can really do whatever we want with it, but I'm sure it'll be fun to write.
That's awesome. And you've talked about using station cash for this sort of thing. It can kind of give off a pay-to-win vibe. Are you concerned about that at all?
We're trying to talk. We don't have the design fully fleshed out. It's something that we would want to market as a microtransaction thing, but maybe it's also something that you can find in the world and you can call an airdrop through a radio system, and it doesn't cost anything. And an airdrop's not a secure thing. It's not like I'm calling in this airdrop, I'm going to guarantee get this thing that drops. It's more of like you're creating an event more than an airdrop. You're creating this thing to come drop this thing in the world, and now all these players see it, and you're going to create some action. So it's a little bit different than actually just buying something and you get it immediately.
That makes sense. What types of things do you think we'll be expecting in Player Studio? And will that be an early access thing or a launch feature?
Player Studio will not be early access as far as we can tell. It takes a lot to put that, set that up for the players to use. And we really aren't going to have a fully fleshed out game except during early access. So it's really hard to put things into the game, to modify the game when you haven't even finished it yet.
You're going to be getting a lot of MMO players, most likely, considering you're Sony, and you get some intermingling there of the groups. Are you planning on having a structure for social groups at all, guilds or communities?
So we've talked about what does a group mean in H1Z1, what does a guild mean in H1Z1, what does it look like on the HUD, how is it displayed. We want to make sure that we're going very minimalistic with our presentation of what's on the screen, so we don't want to have this whole thing of oh, here's my guild and here's the name above my head and everyone sees me from 10,000 meters away. But we definitely want to have some type of social structure. Maybe it's, we haven't really talked about it yet, so I can't really even comment on it, really. But I know there's going to be community-driven stuff within the game. Like Jimmy Wisenhunt, who's one of our level designers, talks about people saying they want to create a no-pants town and a no-shirt town, and they're going to be right across from each other, and they're going to fight to the death, and that's all they do. So there will definitely be that kind of social interaction. Maybe it's just not in the UI like you're familiar with the MMO style of creating a guild. But that doesn't mean we can't do it later. We just haven't really talked about the design yet, if you want to comment on it.
We're building off the PlanetSide 2 engine, so we've got all the functions that are in that guild system and some of the other stuff as well. So we can turn those on. We just need to make sure, like Adam said, what really fits into the game lore and the gameplay.
So your map right now, 64 square kilometers, and you're talking about having an ever-expanding world. Is any of this procedurally generated at all, or is it a preset map type of situation, if that even gets there?
The procedural generation tools exist, but most of that is for actually generating the world to begin with. So what you'll do is you'll use these tools to create things like trees and landscapes, and then those landscapes will be stuck in the world, and that's the world everyone uses. There's also procedural stuff that's done in the game, but it's not going to be changing like some of the other games we've seen.
Okay. That all makes sense. All right, can you guys, real quick, just give me one of your favorite new features in H1Z? I mean, we talked about bows and arrows last time, so give me something new.
Well, being on world design, I just finished the supermarket in the game. It took me a long time working with some of our artists. Jeff Jonas is one of our artists, 3D modelers, and he was giving me a lot of items to put in the world and supermarket, and I was going back and forth with him, and it was a lot of fun to create. It's a really large piece that we place. It's going to have a huge parking lot and the big food court area, and we went full blown out, huge supermarket. So that's my new favorite thing that I just put into the game. The new feature that I like that the team has made is the ravens. We just got the ravens in. They're flying down. They're pecking on corpses. We've talked about if they've peck on a zombie corpse, what does that mean? Maybe do they get infected and now they attack players? So that's personally the new thing that I like. Really, that's
some pretty exciting, just world building stuff, making it something more interesting. What about you?
For me, it's kind of like we're putting in more of the body simulation stuff. So we added some of the virus and other things. We're putting some stuff in for the heat and cold as well, and that's kind of the stuff we wanted to do, and that's big for me. That and the ragdoll. We put in ragdoll in for more things. So we didn't get it into this build. We have some, we put the bear and the deer and everything else together in ragdoll, and that's actually kind of fun to watch them roll down the hill.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for talking to me, and keep it tuned here to 10 Ton Hammer for more H1Z1 news.